At the height of fame, Kelly Clarkson was the voice of a generation, a powerhouse who seemed unstoppable. But what happens when the applause fades, the spotlight shifts, and the world starts asking questions that no one dares to answer? Behind the smiles and sold-out tours, whispers of exhaustion, personal battles, and unseen struggles began to surface. How does a superstar cope when her public image no longer matches her private reality? Today, at 42, Kelly's story is not just about music. It's about resilience, loss, and a search for herself in a world that rarely stops to notice the cost of fame. Kelly Clarkson's journey began in the quiet suburbs of Fort Worth, far removed from the bright lights of global stages. As a teenager, she displayed a voice that could cut through silence, raw and unpolished, yet undeniably powerful. Music wasn't just a pastime, it was an escape, a language in which she could articulate emotions that words alone could not convey. Friends and teachers noticed early on that she carried an intensity, a determination to stand out, though she could never have anticipated how sharply her life would change. The turning point came in 2002 when she auditioned for a televised singing competition that would become a cultural phenomenon. Overnight, Kelly transitioned from high school routines to national fame. A teenager who once worried about homework and weekend plans was suddenly thrust into sold-out arenas, late-night interviews, and a level of scrutiny few could endure. Her victory marked a moment of triumph, yet it carried a hidden cost. The machinery of fame began to dictate her life. Record labels, media narratives, and public expectations weighed heavily, shaping her persona even as she tried to remain true to herself. Behind the smile and confidence presented on camera, Kelly faced the first whispers of doubt. Could she maintain this image? Could she navigate an industry known for consuming young talent and discarding those who faltered? The world saw a breakout star. Few saw the exhaustion, the anxiety, and the silent pressure building beneath the surface. Every victory carried a question. Was she pursuing her dreams, or was she meeting someone else's vision of success? How much of Kelly Clarkson's public triumph masked the private toll of instant fame? And which sacrifices would she make to sustain it? As Kelly's career accelerated, the machinery of the music industry tightened its grip. Each song, each performance, and each public appearance became a calculated move. Label executives and producers had visions for her, often at odds with her own creative instincts. She was expected to balance the authenticity of her artistry with the commercial demands of the charts. While her voice remained her strongest tool, the pressure to conform intensified. The impact was subtle but relentless. Exhaustion seeped into her life, often unnoticed by fans dazzled by her energy and charisma. Interviews were scheduled back-to-back. Tours spanned continents. The public demanded a perfection she could not sustain indefinitely. Behind the polished appearances, Kelly navigated the psychological weight of being both a product and a person, a duality few could truly understand. The conflict between authenticity and expectation became a quiet battle, one fought in hotel rooms, backstage corridors, and moments of private reflection. This chapter of her life revealed an unspoken truth about celebrity. Power and recognition often arrive alongside vulnerability and invisibility. While the world applauded, Kelly quietly contended with the tension between the persona everyone celebrated and the person quietly fraying under the pressure. The stakes were more than professional. They were psychological, touching her sense of self, identity, and worth. Could the relentless demands of image and performance push Kelly toward a breaking point, one that might remain invisible to the adoring public? And what price would she eventually pay for sustaining the facade? Away from the cameras, Kelly Clarkson faced personal turbulence that often collided with her professional life. Relationships, romantic, familial, and platonic, became both sanctuary and source of strain. The public's gaze, unrelenting and intrusive, blurred the line between privacy and spectacle. Each heartbreak, each disagreement, was dissected by media narratives, leaving her to navigate emotional landscapes under scrutiny few could endure. Marriage and motherhood introduced both joy and complexity. Balancing the demands of a high-profile career with raising children meant constant negotiation, between studio time and school plays, between interviews and quiet family dinners. Emotional exhaustion became a companion, infiltrating even the happiest moments. The lyrics of her songs, often full of heartbreak and resilience, were reflections of battles fought quietly, behind closed doors. Fans interpreted them as artistic expression, but they were also windows into deeply personal struggles. Kelly's private challenges carried a psychological weight. The dissonance between public success and private vulnerability, the sense of isolation in a life constantly observed, and the pressure to maintain composure even when fractured. In these intimate moments, she grappled with questions few could answer. How does one nurture a family while the world demands constant output? How does one protect the self while fulfilling an impossible public role? Did these private battles redefine Kelly Clarkson's priorities? And how would they influence the decisions she would make at the height of her fame? By her late 30s, Kelly's health began signaling the consequences of years spent on a relentless cycle. Exhaustion was no longer abstract. It manifested physically and mentally. Vocal strain, sleep disruption, and chronic fatigue became unwelcome companions. The very instrument that had built her empire, her voice, was showing signs of vulnerability. Industry insiders noted cancelled shows, moments of hesitation on stage, and glimpses of fatigue that fans interpreted as minor hiccups. Behind the scenes, however, the pattern was clear. The cost of relentless touring, media appearances, and maintaining a public image had begun to erode her well-being. Mental health challenges, stress, anxiety, and the invisible burden of perfection added layers of complexity to her daily life. Even moments of success felt tempered by the pressure to sustain energy and presence. This phase of her life revealed a difficult truth. Fame often masks fragility. The world applauds achievements, rarely witnessing the personal sacrifices required. For Kelly, the challenge became not just performing, but protecting herself, her body, her mind, and her artistry from the unyielding pace of celebrity. The psychological stakes were high. To continue, she needed both resilience and strategy. Would Kelly Clarkson find a way to reclaim control over her health and career, or would the relentless demands of fame leave her sidelined indefinitely? Faced with mounting pressures, Kelly began to take control of her narrative. Instead of adhering solely to industry demands, she explored projects that aligned with her values and priorities: talk shows, mentorship roles, and selective music ventures. Each decision, though subtle, represented a reclamation of autonomy. Fans noticed a shift. Her interviews were more candid, her laughter more genuine, her public persona less curated. These choices signaled not weakness but strength, a willingness to prioritize authenticity over external validation. The psychological transformation was profound. Kelly recognized that success was no longer measured by chart rankings or awards, but by her ability to navigate life without compromising selfhood. This era of reinvention was not without risk. Stepping away from established patterns and expectations exposed her to criticism and skepticism. Yet, for the first time, Kelly's career choices reflected her internal compass rather than external pressures. Her resilience became a quiet rebellion against the system that once demanded conformity. Could Kelly Clarkson's newfound autonomy redefine her career trajectory and reshape how the world perceives her? And what would this shift reveal about the true cost of fame? Even as she regained control, the world remained unforgiving. Social media and tabloids magnified every perceived flaw. Vulnerability, weight fluctuations, candid confessions, family challenges, was often treated as weakness. Kelly's emotional resilience was constantly tested, illuminating a hidden truth about celebrity culture. The most private struggles are often the hardest to protect, and the human cost of visibility is rarely acknowledged. The psychological pressure of scrutiny created a paradox. While Kelly's audience adored her honesty, constant judgment reinforced self-doubt. Her ability to perform, to maintain confidence on stage, and to engage authentically with fans was under continuous challenge. This tension, invisible to the casual observer, shaped decisions in subtle ways. Career pacing, song selection, public appearances, and private moments all became acts of navigation in a minefield of expectation. Clarkson's journey exposed a universal reality beneath the glitz. Visibility magnifies vulnerability, and resilience is not simply enduring, but strategically surviving the gaze of a world that rarely pauses to understand the human beneath the celebrity. How does one remain authentic under relentless scrutiny? And what strategies would Kelly Clarkson employ to protect her identity while remaining in the public eye? At 42, Kelly Clarkson stands as a testament to resilience and self-definition. Her voice remains powerful, but her priorities have shifted. Health, family, and personal authenticity now guide her decisions. She speaks openly about the challenges of burnout, mental health, and the sacrifices behind her career, demonstrating a rare combination of vulnerability and strength. Her narrative is no longer dominated by external metrics of success, but by internal alignment. Her choices reflect a woman in control of her journey. Yet, even now, questions linger. What ambitions were deferred? What battles left unspoken? Clarkson's story is both inspiration and cautionary tale, highlighting the tension between visibility and privacy, performance and authenticity. The lessons are subtle but profound. Survival in the limelight requires boundaries, self-awareness, and the courage to redefine success on one's own terms. As she continues to navigate life, Kelly's journey underscores a broader truth. Fame is a lens, but it does not capture the full human experience. The singer who once captivated the world with her voice now commands attention through her choices, her honesty, and her resilience. Yet the shadows of her past challenges linger, a reminder that even icons are human, complex, fragile, and unrelentingly real. Will the world ever truly understand Kelly Clarkson as she sees herself, or will fame continue to define her legacy more than she does?